Thank you for downloading the 90's Inspired Headband tutorial. Start by printing out your pattern. The first page will contain a test square in both centimeters and inches. You will notice that there is a direction of stretch marker instead of a grain line. There is also a fold line that shows you where to place the pattern before cutting it. Cut out your pattern piece. You will need stretch fabric for this pattern. I'm using a cotton lycra blend from Spotlight. This is a great project if you have a scrap piece of fabric that needs to be used. Fold your fabric over horizontally and place the pattern on the folded edge. If you're a beginner, you may like to pin the pattern down, but it is quite easy to cut out. Once cut out, this is how the headband piece should look. Fold it over with right sides facing together. The right side is the pretty or pattern side of the fabric that you would like to show when wearing the garment. Pin it along the raw edge. I'm using an overlocker, but you can use a zigzag stitch if you only have a standard sewing machine. Sew down the raw edge. With the wrong side still showing, line the headband up so that the seam is in the middle. Pinch the top layer down and fold the layer behind over, sandwiching the top layer in between. Without pinning, head over to your sewing machine. We won't pin because every few stitches you will pull the internal layer out. Once you pull the internal layer out, you will match the raw edges up to each other and sew another few stitches. When you reach the seam, make sure that both ends of the seam line up. Stop a few centimeters before the start of your stitch. Leave a hole big enough to fit a couple of fingers. You should be left with a tube. Reach into the hole that you left and pull the tube inside out. To close the hole, there are two methods that I will show you. The first is beginner friendly. Simply tuck the raw edges into the hole and pin it into place. When it's tucked in, it should be in line with the rest of the sewing. Remembering to backstitch, top stitch the hole closed, very close to the edge. The stitch is small enough that it won't snap when stretched. The second method is a ladder stitch or invisible stitch that you will hand sew. This is a more experienced method and you may need to practice it a few times to get it right. Thread a hand needle and loop the end a couple of times around the needle and slide it off to easily make a knot on the end. With the raw edges tucked into the headband, find the last piece of stitching and thread the needle through the stitching from the inside. This will hide the tail of the thread. Directly above where the thread comes out of the fabric, slide the needle through, making sure to grab half a centimeter of fabric. Directly below where the thread comes out, slide the needle through, making sure to grab half a centimeter of fabric. Repeat the process up and down the hole until you reach the end, kind of like in the shape of a ladder. Once you reach the end of the hole, pierce the seam from the inside and hand sew 2 knots. Slide the needle into the inside of the seam, poking out from the fabric, and trim the end away. This should make the thread look invisible if you use the same coloured thread. And now you're all done. I hope that you like your new 90's inspired headband.